What's going on, everybody? It's May 8th. This Thursday, we're heading into week 13 of college baseball. There's only 2 more weeks left in the regular season, and I got to say, man, it's been a great year so far, but as always, college baseball doesn't start getting really, really good until the month of June. So with that being said, we got a new co-host tonight, my guy Noah Bieniek, who I will be on with this evening after this podcast talking about the same goddamn things, is joining me here today to handicap this week 13 slate. Noah, what's the deal, baby?
I am pleased that you extended the offer to me. Honestly, I think it's like the first time I'm on the show in a year and a half. It's a pleasure to be back on the Johnny television, as I just tweeted it out, the tube. What's going on, dude? I'm so happy that we actually got like a full slate of games of overnight lines that we can handicap completely. I went through this slate and I found 19 full matchups, 2 pitchers slated to go. So I'm already in the weeds.
You know, that's the one thing. So it's great when we get lines. We don't have all the confirmed pitching matchups. But one thing I do like is that we almost always get the SEC matchups. Those are usually the first ones to officially come out. So the good thing is at least we do have something. And, you know, listen, there's a lot of lines. And, you know, last week even, we only got like 6 or 7 games early. And I thought maybe the rest would trickle out, but it didn't really end up happening until late Thursday night, early Friday morning. So it's good that we're able to have a pretty extended show and talk about a lot of different aspects of the weekend here.
Totally agree. Let's do it.
Before we get into the slate, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. And something new that I decided to come out with. If you missed the college baseball VIP Discord, which if you did, I don't know what you were doing. We're up over 36 units on the year, hitting at 57%. We're having a really good one, looking to get 40 plus before the conference tournaments start. I created a second half VIP membership for the rest of the season. So the month of May and June for just $100. Truthfully, the entire month of June is worth more than $100 alone. Rest of the season, use the code below, the link below, also in the comments, and come win with me. We're going for a monster 2025 campaign. All right, Noah, typically, I know you don't come on this podcast a lot, but what I like to do, and everybody that tunes in knows this, before we get into the slate, I like to talk about some of the biggest underdogs that are most likely to win outright for the game one. Now we have several big underdogs, and typically when I say underdogs, I mean I'm talking 2-1 or bigger. But you know, listen, if you like something plus 160, plus 170, no shame in that game. So, do you see anybody on the board early on that you think is a good upset pick this week?
Early on, large dog, unfortunately not. I'm looking through my notes because I wrote down all the pitching matchups and some stats, but I haven't actually like finished the handicap on a lot of these. So I'm double checking. I'm doing my justice, but I'm going to take you to a plus 130 play, and it is taking place in the jungle. East Carolina is hosting the AAC first place team. UTSA has already locked up the title in the regular season. They are traveling to East Carolina. Ethan Norby is on the bump for the Pirates. He's been great this year. 274 home ERA compared to a full season long 339. In 69 innings, he's got 92 strikeouts and just 18 walks. I think the offense is coming into their own. They're trying to hit their stride as they enter the American Conference tournament because that's going to be the only way that they earn a bid into the NCAA tournament. UTSA's game 2 starter is much better than their game 1. Zach Royce is going for the Roadrunners here. He's got a 4.81 ERA, and on the road, he's slightly worse with a 5.67, and he's not too overpowering as a pitcher. So I think that East Carolina's got a fighting chance here. So if you're going to put me up the wall or put me up against a wall and take my favorite dog, it would be East Carolina plus 130 right now.
East Carolina is interesting. I mean, obviously, it's not surprising that they've had the down year. I don't really think a lot of us expected, after considering what they lost last year, from last year to this year, that they were going to have like this big vintage season that Cliff Godwin usually has. So it's a good look, man. UTSA has been great, but potentially that they don't have anything to play for. I think that's definitely something that we can look at. There's a couple ones that I like, and I had a tough time picking. So I'm going to talk about two of them. We can get into a little bit more of it later on in the show, as I like to do, but Cincinnati is a plus
yeah,
2.
there you go.
Tommy Laporte has been great this year. He's definitely in the mix for Big 12 Pitcher of the Year. Of course, I needed him last week to have a good outing at Arizona, and he shit the bed. One time I really needed him to come through. But that was really his first bad outing of the year. But truthfully, like, Noah, you know this about me this year. I was not a big fan of TCU coming into the year. I mean, I had them as a top 4, top 5 team in the Big 12 because, I didn't think the conference was going to be that great. But some people had them winning the conference, and, it wasn't a terrible pick, but I just felt like after losing Ben Abel, it could have been trouble. Their offense isn't anything special. They have tough times having like these big breakout outings. So if their pitching is a little bit underwhelming, it's tough for them. And, they're going against Cincinnati, who's red hot right now. All of a sudden, the Bearcats are a bubble team, maybe more. And they're led by Carrington Cross, who's been one of the best third basemen in the country. He's got 11 tatas. He's got a 4.17 average. This Bearcat team is interesting, man. 285 average, 56 home runs. They steal a ton of bases, 113 bags on the year. Their pitching hasn't been terrible. Kellen O'Connor was starting the year in the Friday night role, but they bumped him down to, I believe, the Sunday role. I think it might be Nathan Taylor getting the start here, as he typically does on Fridays. This dude's been dealing, man.
Yeah.
5.1 on the year, 2.54 ERA, 70 Ks to 24 walks in 63 2/3 innings. I think Cincinnati's an interesting play. You're getting big money. The TCU offense isn't overwhelming. Sure, Tommy Laporte can have a vintage outing like he has been all year, but if Nathan Taylor can continue to keep his team in the game, this Bearcats offense has some thumpers. They have some guys that can take a late lead after Laporte exits. And, the TCU offense or the bullpen isn't great. They got a couple of arms, but it's not like a Clemson bullpen or an Arkansas bullpen. So I think that's an interesting angle there. For anybody that's subscribed to the Discord, I worked the Cincinnati parlay in the card. And the other team, Noah, would be ULL at plus 230 at Southern Miss. I mean, anybody that's followed the sport knows JB Middleton's been a top 10 pitcher this year. Middleton's sub-2 ERA. He's been fantastic. But sort of the same sentiment of the Horned Frogs. The Southern Miss offense isn't that great. They can absolutely be had. So if Middleton has an off night, it's very reasonable to see the Golden Eagles lose this one. And you're going against ULL, but mainly Chase Morgan. Chase Morgan is one of my favorite pitchers in the country. Big-time lefty with great swing and miss stuff. He's had a couple bad outings. He had a bad outing last week and 3 weeks ago. So like 2 5-earned run plus outings. So it's definitely something that he's been struggling on the road this year. But Morgan's a guy that's so talented that if he has a good start, he can definitely will his team to a win in what could be a great pitcher's tool. So I think ULL at plus 230, even on the road against one of, if not maybe the best mid-major arm in the country this year, is an intriguing play.
Johnny, you've identified 2 matchups that I also liked. I just didn't get there with the money line, and I actually chose to eye an under tomorrow when those totals come out for both matchups. As well that I'm not sure anybody was higher on Cincinnati than I was. I absolutely love Bishop Ball. I agree with you. However, they've struggled to consistently put good weekend after good weekend together. I see them losing the series down in Fort Worth this weekend. But Nathan Taylor and Tommy Laporte are 2 of the best pitchers in the Big 12. This would easily be a first 5 under 2. I really feel confident about that. Taylor in his last 4 starts, it's a 164 ERA, Tommy Laporte in his last 4 starts, it's a 1.63 ERA, and he's looking for a bounce back outing after getting touched up by Arizona last weekend. I love this look for the under. That one I like a lot more than Louisiana Southern Miss, but I was also eyeing this one. The only thing that scares me a little bit about your boy Chase Morgan, who he's so much better at the tee. On the road, he's got a 6.86 ERA, but JB Middleton's going to carry this for you. And I wouldn't say for you because you're on the money line, but for somebody that takes the under, he's going to carry this. A 0.87 ERA in his last 4 starts. The kid's been stellar this season. So I like both unders because both dogs, I think, could be live with good starting pitchers on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good look. And it always depends on the number. I mean, if we get lucky and maybe we get like an 11.5 or a 12 with Southern Miss ULL. I mean, the thing is, like, Chase Morgan's not been as good on the road, obviously, but it's a situation where somebody as talented as him can just he can be on, and when he's on, he's a handful. He's, in my opinion, he's in contention as one of the best mid-major pitchers when Chase Morgan's dealing. This year, it's been a little bit of a different story. He battled an injury earlier in the year, but talent-wise, it's sky high for Chase Morgan. All right, we're moving on here. Official slate time. The Vandy boys travel to Knoxville in this in-state Tennessee rivalry. 2 of the premier arms. It's the year of the lefty in college baseball, but mainly the SEC. J.D. Thompson, my boy, coming into the year, I pegged as a top 5 pitcher in not just the country, but potentially top 5 pitcher off the board this year. Thompson has been a mixed bag. Noah, as you know, he's been dominant at home for the most part, but it's been some struggles on the road. Whereas Liam Doyle, he's been great this year. He's had a couple bad outings, but overall he's been great. And I think a lot of us would agree that this 3rd-year leap came out of nowhere. It's quite surprising, to say the least. Tennessee being minus 195. So I want to ask you this. The Volunteers, who started out the year great, look like a shoo-in to be a top 2 or top 3 seed at worst. They've struggled this last month. They've lost 4 series in a row, and they've got a lot of problems right now. But Liam Doyle gives them their best chance to win every single week. Going against J.D. Thompson, who's been dominant, and when he's on, he's lights out, but he's struggling on the road. Are you laying 195 with Tennessee in basically a gotta-have-it spot?
I'm not going to lay the 195. I think they win the game, but I think your better value could come on under. Once again, I'll take you to that. Tennessee's offense just hasn't been very explosive lately. You talked about the last month. They've kind of slumped as a team, and I think that's really because the last 4 series they've averaged under 6 runs per game, and that's just not a Tony Vitello team. We've seen offenses be really explosive no matter the quality of pitching, and that's just not been the way of Tennessee the last couple of weeks here. But Liam Doyle has been super steady for them at home in Knoxville. It's a 1.47 ERA. His last 6 appearances have been just dominant, 1.74 ERA. And Vanderbilt's got this thing every single season where they are slightly worse, or maybe more, like worse on the road than they are at home. I remember last year it was Grant Cunningham who had an inflated road ERA. This year it's their ace J.D. Thompson as well, 5.02 road ERA compared to a 3.95 on the season. I'm not looking to back that, but I'm not looking to jump on a $2 line on Tennessee. So I'll be looking at it on under tomorrow.
Where does the cutoff point have to be for you to take an under? Because Liam Doyle, a lot of his totals, and it's hard because you need something in real time to see where they open and where they close. But from what I've seen in conference, a lot of his totals when he's pitching are between 10 and 11.5. Where do you need this number to be in order to take the under?
9. I feel really good. Yeah, I feel really good about Tennessee. Just hasn't swung it well lately, and Vanderbilt's offense has been average below average in the SEC. So when they hit the road, I feel confident that Doyle's going to throw 6 or 7 shutty. He didn't get a start last weekend. It was basically taken from him. And then he got suspended. So I think you're getting a pissed off Doyle here. He's going to shove for 6-7 plus. And I think this is more like a 5-2 ball game that Tennessee wins. But again, I don't feel that confident in putting money down on the Tennessee money line. I'd rather go under. I feel pretty good about that.
So it's funny you say that because I was actually thinking, as much as they need this, and I think they get it, 195 is too steep.
They've lost 3 straight home series.
It doesn't even matter. Even still, like Vanderbilt and Tennessee always play each other tough. It's that Tennessee rivalry. And Thompson, I know he hasn't been good on the road. That's why typically I kind of faded Vanderbilt on the road, even on JD Thompson nights this season. But with the way Tennessee's been swinging the bat, or lack thereof, one thing that kind of gets me concerned is Thompson could have a good start. It's not out of this. I mean, we're even talking like he could go 6 innings, 4 earned, and that's a fine start at Tennessee. So that's where laying this vig is troublesome for me. But knowing how much the Vols need this, because they're out of the top 10 right now, and they're in real jeopardy of not hosting. If they lose this series, there's a real case to be made that they will be a 2 seed come first week of June. That's why still, though, I'm going to put this in a parlay. I got a parlay cooked up with the Volunteers because I think that they do get this done, and in a must win series. But I'll say this: where do you put this? If Tennessee takes their next 2 series, are they back in as a top 8?
Yeah. They got the brand name. They get there. They'll have 16, 17 SEC wins. I don't even know the total off the top of my head, but that's good enough with the committee. I mean, we're going to see 6 SEC top 12 hosts. there's going to be 6.
I'm talking about top 8 national seeds.
I know. I'm Tennessee's in a tough spot because they've lost a couple of series that are probably going to be used as tiebreakers against them. Like you look at Auburn, they're on that top 8 bubble. You look at LSU, if they lose another series, one of the final 2, they could be on that top 8 bubble. You look at, Tennessee's probably going to be on the right side just because of their recent postseason history, which I know is lame criteria that they've used in the past. So I think they're a top 8 seed if they win both their final remaining series.
I believe they're at 14 wins, so 2 series wins would put them at least 18 wins.
Yeah.
And truthfully now, and I don't agree with this, Vanderbilt's on the top 8 national seed bubble. So if they were able to take down Vandy, that would almost boot them out of that conversation. Which honestly, I don't think they should be in. They have 1 legitimate series win, which was impressive. The sweep at Georgia, home to Georgia. But
just looking at bracketology stuff over the last week, they're the number 1 team in KPI, which is a metric that the committee uses. So, they got to lose some games to really get knocked off that pedestal right now.
It's a good point. All right, we got Miami, Virginia. It's been a strange last few weeks for the Cavaliers. A team that is on the bubble, a team that I was extremely high on coming into the year, a team that is 11-10 right now, did not play a conference series last weekend. They didn't play their series at FSU a couple weeks ago because of, the tragedy that happened in Tallahassee. And that was big for them because even if they didn't win a game, that was still big for their RPI. And you know me, I think RPI is total bullshit. I think it's total crap. But the committee takes it with more than a grain of salt. They take that very heavily, and that's one of the big metrics used to rank seedings and hostings and who gets in, who gets out. But Virginia, with 2 series left at 11 wins, and I've been saying this, I think if they can manage to win these last 2 series, they're in. I don't even think it's a discussion. They're facing one of the hottest teams in the country right now, Miami, who took 2 games against NC State, and they were up in the 3rd game before it got canceled. Do you think UVA gets this much-needed game 1 against the red-hot Canes?
I think this is a really tricky series. I trust Miami's pitching a lot more than I trust Virginia's. I think that Miami's really figured something out, moving AJ Siskar and Tate Tarius into that weekend rotation. I think they've also figured out their top 3 arms out of the bullpen, starting with Brian Walters, the brother of Andrew. Brian's been great as a closer for this team, and honestly can give them length too, because he began the season as a starting pitcher. And Virginia just seems to be juggling the weekend rotation around all over the place. The one guy that's remained steady is Jay Woolfolk. And Johnny, I know both you and I weren't necessarily sold on Woolfolk at the beginning of the year. He's kind of pitched to my expectation. He's got a 5.11 ERA in the season, a 6.06 ACC ERA, and he's very inconsistent. He can get to a strikeout. He's got 60 and 49.1, but this Miami team, you mentioned it, they're just hot. They're below average offense that is swinging a hot stick right now. Daniel Covey is unconscious. I'm not sure I want to jump on the train tracks with that one coming through. So I like the Hurricanes at -105 here. This isn't one of my favorite plays either, but that's where I would take you.
I have to separate head versus heart here. That's what a good handicapper does. That's what an honest better does. You gotta call it what it is. You look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, what do I want versus what do I think is probably going to happen? UVA needs this game. It's not just that I want it. I want them in. I want them to be able to make a run, but they know they need this game, especially losing that FSU series in its entirety because it wasn't played. I feel like UVA. My heart's with them, but my head is more with Miami. I'm probably not betting this series. Jay Woolfolk, like you said, we talked about just the inconsistencies. It's been such a problem this year, but the bullpen's been an even bigger problem for them. It's weird because the pitching, Brian O'Connor preseason said, I think this might be my best pitching staff in years. And quite frankly, it's probably been his worst, which is a complete 180. Miami's hot. They have probably the pitching advantage here. Griffin Hugas going Friday night. I mean, maybe the week off for Woolfolk will do something for him. But, I'm staying away. I think Miami is the better play. If you're listening to this, I think the Hurricanes are a better play this weekend. But I'm going to just watch it and hope UVA could win because I don't want to bet against UVA, especially not right now. They need every game they can get.
There we go.
We're sticking with ACC here. Duke, Clemson. The Duke Blue Devils were basically left for dead before conference play started. They were brutal. They lost the series to Cincinnati. They were ice cold. Their pitching wasn't good. Kyle Johnson experience didn't last very long in the not just weekend rotation, but in the Friday night role. But honestly, Duke, man, they're sitting there, 14 wins in conference. I don't know how it happened. They don't really have many, if any, quality wins. But, here they are. And Duke's went with Owen Prosch in the Friday night role. He's been solid. He's had some good starts. And now they're traveling to Clemson, where Aiden Canuck awaits them. And we're talking about home road splits. Canuck has been amazing at home, whereas he's not been good on the road. And Clemson's coming off a series where they should have won at FSU. And if they had won and not imploded on the Friday night game where they were in command for most of it, they would have took the series and we're probably looking at the Tigers in a different light. We're having a different conversation about this Clemson team who's probably well in the top 10 and probably in the top 8. After losing via the sweep at NC State, the Tigers are sort of in their own desperation mode. Because I'll tell you, Clemson is also Clemson is also in danger of not even being a host this year. So they need this series. Now, I think if Clemson wins this series and next weekend, I think they're back in top 8 conversation. I think they're definitely a host. And Aiden Canuck is a pitching advantage almost every single weekend. especially at home where he's been dominant this year. It hasn't been the big leap that we were hoping from him after a dominant freshman year, but I think Canuck is still Canuck. The bullpen is still really good, even though they've been struggling a bit. The one thing that concerns me is the offense. They don't have a single hitter batting over 300 right now, or batting 300 at all. They've been running themselves out of innings. Poor base running execution, poor mental mistakes. Their fielding has been terrible in late game situations. But they need this one. I think I got to go Clemson here.
Yeah, Johnny, you mentioned the road to home splits. You took care of Aiden Canuck, and that's been a big story of his season. But Owen Prosch, same story. On the season, he's been pretty good. He doesn't go too deep into these games. You know how Duke always is. It's max 2 times through the order for their starting pitchers. He's got a 3.21 ERA on the season, but on the road, he's got a 6.07. And he hasn't gone deep into these games at all. He gets rocked early. He's only got 13.1 innings thrown in 4 appearances on the road this season. So I like Clemson in a big statement weekend, honestly. That's kind of how I see this one going. Offense needs to wake up, and Duke's going to throw out plenty of matchups against him in game 1, game 2, but typically game 3 for Duke as well as Clemson, they tend to be higher scoring matchups, as Duke has shown most of their options at least once to the opposing lineup, and as Clemson runs out of starting pitchers and is just trying to do everything they can to Johnny Holstaff a win. I like Clemson in game 1. I feel pretty confident in them with game 2 and Titsworth on the mound. So I think they win the series. I think they win game 1. Possibility of a sweep and a statement series back. You mentioned it. Duke hasn't really been tested this season. Now you hit the road to Doug Kingsmore against the Clemson team that plays noticeably better at home. I'll take Canuck and Clemson at -115 every day of the week.
I think it's a good price. I think because Clemson struggles these last couple of weeks, this number has been adjusted in a negative manner, where typically I'd probably put Clemson at about -150. I would say in a normal neutral and neutral week, but in a normal week where Clemson's playing well, I think this is easily 150. So 115 is fair. And I'll say this: Clemson needs to win this game, because when you lose Aiden Canuck starts, when you lose a start by your best and really only true starter, it's a tough hole to climb out of. So you get the Friday win, and then you got 2 cracks to win one more game to take the series.
You are right there.
All right, we're moving on here. Back to SEC play. Oklahoma Sooners at the Kentucky Wildcats. Kyson Witherspoon. Name me 3 better pitchers this year than Kyson Witherspoon. You can't do it. This has probably been the best righty in college baseball this year. You can make a case this has been the best pitcher all around in 2025. Kyson Witherspoon, no matter who, no matter where, no matter when, has been dominating this year. And they're an underdog at Kentucky. Kentucky's been jumbling this rotation a lot this year in the Friday-Saturday role. It's Nate Harris, not Nick McVay. Nick McVay will go Saturday, followed by Ben Cleaver on Sunday. Kentucky, I don't really like their program. I don't think they're a good team. I didn't like them last year. I thought it was an unsustainable way of winning and an unsustainable way of playing. This year, they're much worse than they were last season. Coming off getting swept at Mississippi State is bad. And I don't care how hot the Health State is. The Bulldogs took it to them in every phase of the game. Now you're going against maybe the best pitcher in the country. And I'm not the biggest Oklahoma fan this year. I think Oklahoma has a lot of holes in their roster. But when you have Witherspoon, who's doing as well as he is, that's all I need to know. They have a couple good bullpen guys. Dylan Crooks is big in the back end of their bullpen. Their offense is solid. It's good enough. And you're an underdog, and you're only laying 110 with that. Don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, Kyson's my guy, too. Preseason, I was even saying he was a better right-handed pitcher than Bremner when everybody thought it was the other way around. Look, I do think there's a possible hole here with Kyson too, though. And once again, I love splits, whether it's facing left-hander, right-hander, or road and home. Kyson Witherspoon in a couple of road starts this season has a 4.43 road ERA compared to a 2.12 on the year. Two of the roughest road appearances for Kyson came in South Carolina and Missouri. I think Kentucky, talent-wise, is similar to those two than like a Georgia that he was just at and pitched really well. The question I have on Kyson is the motivation to go up against some teams that are under-talented, that aren't as good on paper. What is that mindset like, taking the mound, taking the hill? Because Kentucky, albeit they're not a strong offense, they don't let starting pitchers go deep into games. Very rarely do starting pitchers see the sixth inning against the Wildcats this year. You don't like Kentucky. I actually kind of love it. I love when teams are different. And especially Kentucky and Oklahoma, I think both have very similar play styles in less ideal recruiting areas, like Kentucky and Oklahoma playing in the SEC. You got to have a different identity. You're not going to get the same blue chip talent as you are in other SEC destinations. So I totally get where both of these programs are coming from. I'm going to take the -110 with Kyson Witherspoon because I think you're crazy if you pick Kentucky at -120 facing him. But I'm nervous about this one, man. I don't feel as confident as I typically do with Witherspoon starts. I just think there could be a question mark about the who that you were talking about, because South Carolina and Missouri is the distinguished seller of the SEC. One spot above them in 14th place in the conference right now is Kentucky.
Well, all right, let's just look at those two starts for a second. At South Carolina, which was the weekend opener in conference play for the SEC. 5 1/3, 6 hits, 3 earned, 7 Ks, 1 walk.
Yeah, and he had 10 strikeouts against Missouri too. So.
But that South Carolina series, that was raining. That was bad weather. He was pitching in the rain. Just FYI. So I mean, it could throw you off a little bit. Plus,
it was also bad weather when he dominated against LSU too. So
was it?
Yeah.
Was it bad? Was it that bad?
It wasn't like a monsoon, but it was raining.
It was better weather than South Carolina's series. I mean, I also won against Kate Anderson.
Okay.
And the Missouri series.
Hell of a poll to pull up the first weekend of the year and remember the weather. I give you credit.
The Missouri series, 6 innings, 4 earned, 10 Ks, 1 walk. I mean, that's not a Witherspoon start, but that's still pretty good. So like those are his bad starts. If those are your bad starts,
yeah, that's why I'm taking Oklahoma.
I mean, 100 Ks to 17 walks in 72 innings. I mean, a 2.13 ERA. What the fuck? This kid is right now well on his way to a top 10 overall draft pick this year. Very Dylan Cease-esque. I would say the only pitcher that I think is going to go ahead of him is Jamie Arnold. Maybe Liam Doyle. Because he's lefty.
Anderson,
you know what, though?
too.
Maybe, but I don't know. It's something about Doyle. I don't trust Doyle. You don't go from being terrible as a freshman to being okay as a sophomore to making a jump as arguably the best pitcher in the country as a junior in your junior year. Not to mention he's very Ty Floyd-esque, where everything is off of his fastball. The secondary pitches aren't anything close to what we've seen from like the dominant SEC top of the arms in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, another guy that lived off his fastball was Dolander. He's in the pros right now.
Yeah, but Dolly was a 4-pitch mix guy who threw a lot of sliders, a lot of curveballs, and a decent amount of changeups.
Doyle's got a pitch mix.
Not like that though. He doesn't really lean on it that much. But we will agree to disagree on that one. And by the way, Oklahoma news. I am so proud to announce, finally, after 3 fucking years, the Cubs finally did the right thing, made the call from AAA, get my guy Cade Horton, here's a who, the Oklahoma legend, up to the bigs, will be debuting early next week. Well-deserved. Kid dominated in the College World Series in 2022. Just special place in my heart for that young man. So very happy to hear that. No, we're going back to the Mississippi rivalry here. It's Mississippi State minus 135 hosting the Ole Miss Rebels. Another good pair of lefties, Hunter Elliott, Pico Khan, 135, small price. Lead us off here.
I love the Bulldogs. I've bet Mississippi State already. This is one of the best offenses in the country against left-handed pitching. I'll pull that up in a second here. But Hunter Elliott on the road has been noticeably worse as well. Mississippi State against lefties this season, 339 batting average, 1089 OPS. Hunter Elliott on the road, 498 ERA compared to a season-long 371. And he's still a really good guy on the mound that gets a lot of whiff. But I think this Mississippi State lineup is still talented. And Pico Khan, albeit he hasn't been great in his last 4 starts, it's a 5.92 ERA. I still think like he's had, when you look at pitchers across the SEC, some of the worst luck in the conference. It's 2.07 ERA compared to that 3.90, 2.07 Sierra compared to that 3.90 ERA on the season. I really like Pico Khan. He's been one of my favorite arms to watch all season long. He's a really lanky left-hander who's got 93 strikeouts and 67 innings with just 18 walks. The Bulldogs at home at the Dude, where they're 20-7 on the season this year. And they're 4-0 with Justin Parker as the interim head coach. It's still that interim bump, man. I like the Bulldogs to not only win this game, but win the series. Hail State.
Pico Khan, that's all I need to know. Hunter Elliott, we know he's definitely been a much different pitcher on the road this year. We've talked about this a lot, and truthfully, like, he's been solid. Like, nothing, no shame in his game. Hunter Elliott, especially at, like, his first legitimate full year off of basically sitting out 2 seasons for Tommy John, he's been great. But in terms of evaluating, it's not like this is a every Friday got to bet guy. He's 5 to 6 innings, 3 to 4 earned runs, keeps his team in the game, but it's not like that guy who's going to go out there on the road, give you like 7 shutout innings where some of these other guys will. Pico Khan, you know, he's had a couple bumps in the road recently. He gave up 6 earned, 9 hits at Auburn. He hasn't had like one of those signature Pico starts in a while, but he's definitely been pitching well. And it's worth noting, like at home this year, he's got a 3.69 ERA, only a 2.06 OBA, and his Sierra is 1.78. So you're alluding to it. The luck has not been in his favor. I mean, it's a 2-run difference from what his ERA is, from what his ERA probably should be. Mississippi State on top of it, like you said, they've been hot, and you know, we got to ride this wave. And you're laying a short price here, 135. I think the Bulldogs are the play. I think they probably end up getting the series, but you can't not back Pico Khan here. One game that I really haven't truly formed a full opinion on yet is Georgia at Alabama. You get Bama that just lost the series last weekend in excruciating fashion at Vanderbilt, hosting the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia's been a little bit quiet recently. We haven't heard a lot from them. They swept Mizzou last week, but that's almost like playing a high school team. So you're not really going to get too much clout off of that.
They didn't look that strong in that weekend series either, by the way. They were flirting with a loss in all 3 games.
Yeah, they were. They honestly, the first, I would say 8 weeks, Georgia was looking like a legitimate top 3 team. Their offense was no doubt the best offense in the country, but I mentioned many times on this podcast and on our podcast, The College Experience, they hadn't faced legitimate pitching. And since the schedule's gotten tougher and they faced good SEC arms, their offense has been noticeably worse in the second half of the year.
It also doesn't help that they don't have Rylan Zaborowski healthy. He's been really spotty in some of appearances. I think he's missed the last 2 weekends with an arm injury. He had a cutoff throw to home plate and looked like he just threw out his arm. and he hasn't appeared since. But prior to that, it was like an ankle or a foot injury that had him spotty in the lineup. And up until that point, he was the nation's leader in home runs. And the offense has taken a slight dip. I still think it's strong 1 through 9, but I totally see where you're coming from.
No, it's strong. Like, it's still one of the best offenses in the country. But I'm saying, like, in comparison to what we were viewing and talking about as, oh, yeah, this is the best offense in the country, no doubt. 1 through 9, everybody's ranking. They might have multiple 30 home run guys on their team this year. But compared to what it's been, it's definitely been noticeable. And yeah, like when Zaborowski doesn't play, it's obviously a huge bat who's been one of the best hitters in the country that is out of your lineup. But the pitching has been really the big thing with them. All year, their pitching has been mix and match. Hey, this guy's going to do good, but the bullpen implodes, or they have a shit Sunday start from Leighton Finley, or whatever the case may be. Brian Curley's come out of the bullpen about, I would say, 6 weeks ago, and they thrust him into the weekend rotation. And honestly, he's been probably their best pitcher. He's been their most consistent pitcher. And not only did he join the rotation, but now he's in the Friday night spot this weekend. Coming off a 7 shutty performance, 6K no walk outing at Mizzou last week. It's been, Brian Curley, a lot of 5-inning starts. Curley's a 5-inning guy right now. You look at it, he's got five starts of 5 innings in his last 7. So you know what you're going to get. And then you have to turn it over to a bullpen that's been extremely shaky this year. At Alabama, throwing Tyler Fay. I think this is Georgia's, I don't want to say best chance to win a game, but this is their biggest pitching advantage. So I think, and I haven't played this officially, and I'm going to do a little bit more thinking, but talking about this first glance, I think I like the Bulldogs here with Curley on the mound, even on the road game 1. Tyler Fay just really doesn't do it for me. I think he's solid, but Alabama's offense, honestly, has been struggling outside of a few guys. It's Cade Snell, Will Hodo have really been carrying the burden. Justin LeBron, it's almost I almost forget he's playing half the time. Since that red hot start in the first 5 weeks, he's fallen off a cliff. He's fallen off Mount Everest, where it looked like he might have been running away with the Golden Spikes if he had just been able to maintain what he did early. Bama's kind of like, especially after that deflating loss to Vanderbilt where they had the series and they ended up blowing a 6 or 7 run lead. I just don't know if they're ready to get up for this one.
Yeah, man, you were kind of hinting at it where I was going to take you as well with some of the analysis. Is Alabama, their offense was very, very good. They were a top 10 unit in the non-conference slate. First couple of weekends in the SEC, they knock off the likes of Texas A&M and a couple others. And then all of a sudden, it's just been like a month and a half of cold. And they feel like a candidate to get hot again here as the season wraps up. You get into the SEC tournament. You get out of the conference. It's like a breath of fresh air to some of these SEC teams. We've seen it in the Big 12 as well. A couple of 3 seeds get hot and make a run. Alabama feels like that underseeded 2 seed that just didn't play to their capability for much of the year to me this year, or as of right now. But with that being said, I still can't bet on it. They haven't shown me anything to really feel sturdy behind that statement. A lot of times when I approach these weekends, the first step in my head is like, okay, what do I think is going to happen in this series? Which team do I think is going to win it? I think Georgia takes 2 or 3 here, if not 3. I'm not going to predict a sweep, but then the next step, you mentioned it, is which game do I feel most confident in, like a Georgia W? It is game 1 with Brian Curley, who's become their ace on the bump, and he's a dog on the road too. 1.33 ERA in 27 road innings compared to 61 strikeouts, 51.2 on the season, just 18 walks and a 2.96 ERA on the full year. You know what you're going to get from Tyler Fay. He's going to give you no more than 2 chips through the order. He's been average in his starts here. He's started, I believe, like 3 SEC Fridays in a row, and then they've kind of like piggybacked him after that. But I think that Georgia gets an early lead. They're able to kind of stiff arm Alabama out of this one. This is like a 7-4 final. That would be in the ballpark of my prediction. I like Georgia at -130 because I know that -130 is not going to be there tomorrow. I think this is going to be quite a public pick. Baseball America has Georgia as their number one team in the country right now. If there's people looking at polls, they will be betting the Bulldogs. I don't really look at polls too much, but that one went viral for being just bad. So that's why I know.
Yeah, that was bad. I think us talking about this makes more sense for why Georgia is the pick here, at least on Friday night. Switching gears here, Noah, we're going to the Big 12. Kick us off with West Virginia, a short 130 favorite at K-State.
Yeah, West Virginia is one of my favorite teams in the country right now. There's some questions about the quality of competition that they faced, and I'm hoping that they answer it this weekend. Their best opponent they've faced so far this season is Arizona. They lost 2 of 3 against the Wildcats in Morgantown. I just happen to like Arizona as the number one team in the Big 12, and I haven't really been persuaded off of that for most of the season. And I have said this from after the first couple of games of seeing this kid. Griffin Kern is a stocky, shorter, left-handed pitcher. Comes from the D2 ranks, Illinois. I think it was Quincy. He strikes me a lot of a Derek Clark from last year for West Virginia, and he's pitched to pretty much the same quality. He's 4-1 on the year, 3.59 ERA, and 62.2 innings with 70 strikeouts and 22 walks. Kansas State's going to trot out Jacob Frost, and not only Frost, but also Quevedo and Sheffield in this weekend rotation, all southpaw starting pitchers. That is quite notable because West Virginia is the best team in the country against left-handed pitching. On the season, they're batting .361 with a 1063 OPS there. I love this Mountaineers team. I think the bullpen's sturdy enough. It's a top 15 pitching staff via ERA. And Frost at home, he's actually struggled more in Manhattan than on the road. He's got a 653 home ERA compared to a 486. I don't think he's seen a lineup quite like this one, ready to pounce on the southpaw. So I like West Virginia at -130.
Yeah, West Virginia I gave out as an official play before the show on the Discord, so I'll share that with everybody here. I think, listen, you know my feeling on West Virginia. I think West Virginia, I don't think they're that good. I think a lot of their metrics and their numbers support them as a top 15 team this year because of who they've played.
Which I totally can accept that. But
No, like I understand. It just they don't have a valid series win. And I'll be honest, I think Kansas State is probably one of the better series that they've played, if not the second best series. But to me, that's not saying that much. Kansas State's really fizzled out in the second half this year. I think it's a solid, like if they won this series this weekend, I think it's a solid win. But it's not like, oh yeah, they finally have beaten a legitimate team. Because I think Kansas State right now is also a bubble team.
I would view it as a quality series win. The Wildcats are 16-2 in Manhattan this year, but Dub V's 22-3 on the road.
But Kansas State's still a bubble team right now. They're a legitimate, last 4 in, first 4 out type of scenario for them. But I like them nonetheless because I like what Kern's doing. He's been steady. You know what you're going to get from him. He had a subpar start last weekend, which is 6 2/3, 4 earned, 6 hits, and like that's been his worst start since the opening conference weekend against Oklahoma State, where he went 6 hits, 4 earned, 3 1/3. So Kern is pretty much going to be between no runs and 3 earned runs in just about every start. And as you mentioned, facing against lefties, which is something they've been very successful at, is a huge advantage. I think Kansas State's kind of fizzling, and that's a tough look for them because one thing West Virginia does, and I have to give them credit, they're very fundamentally sound. They don't beat themselves. They don't make dumb mistakes. They play within their game. They will run some more. and they have guys that can deliver when you get on base, which is something that for some reason is so goddamn difficult for most college baseball programs. The pitch, it's just been consistent, and sometimes consistency beats talent. West Virginia short money line price here. That's why I'm going with them in game 1.
Love it.
Texas. Ooh, the number 1 Texas Longhorns got swept at Arkansas last weekend. Yet, due to a lot of turbulence among the top 10, they remain number 1, which I agree with. Their overall body of work this season, they should not be penalized for their one bad outing. They're hosting the Florida Gators, the Red Hot Gators, I might add. It's noteworthy because for some reason, Florida decided to bring Pierce Coppola back, who got a little taste of action late last weekend, to not just the weekend rotation, but they're throwing him in the Friday role over Liam Peterson. Don't understand that one. Pierce Coppola, I think, is maybe a 3-inning guy this weekend as he's working back from injury. With the possibility of the tournament well in their hands right now, Kevin O'Sullivan's going to want and need Coppola ready to go. So I think this is probably going to be more of a bullpen game for the Gators. Ruger Riojas is going for Texas. He got destroyed last weekend at Arkansas, but really that's his first truly bad outing of the year since he's joined the rotation. 154, I think, is a fair price. Texas on a bounce back after getting swept at home, where they've played a lot better this year, and they've been utterly unstoppable at home. Give me the Longhorns with their entire bullpen at their disposal. Riojas in a bounce back.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one too. You questioned what's the decision making here with not throwing Liam Peterson. He threw on Sunday last weekend. He went 3.1 and threw 84 pitches. So they'll move him to Saturday after that. That was because of the whole they started the game in the rain debacle against South Carolina. But I think this is a strategic move by O'Sullivan. Punt game 1. Yep. Ruger Riojas has been really good this year. You mentioned the Arkansas bad start. I think this is a great opportunity for a bounce back on the season. It's a 4.19 ERA. At home, it's a 2.78. So he's stronger in Austin as well. Plus, it's a pitcher's park. I think Riojas stuff plays. And you mentioned also that Florida's red hot coming into this series. They're 13-2 against who? Against who? They played Mississippi State with Chris Lemonis on the bench. They swept Missouri. They swept South Carolina. Like if you were to hand pick a couple of opponents in the SEC that you'd like to have a stretch of against, it would be some order of that 3. Maybe you throw in like a Kentucky or I don't know, but it was really weak. So I'm throwing all that out the window. I'm selling high if there is such a thing on Florida right now. And I'm betting Texas at -154 because it's such a good price. And this team plays better at the dish. So I'll take the Longhorns. Pierce Coppola also coming back in his first start. You mentioned he did get some action last weekend, but I typically fade guys like this because just getting their feet back under him, plus it's a road appearance. I mean, he was just stellar to begin the year. 1.32 ERA and 13.2 innings. Most of that was non-conference and didn't really play anybody. He exited that Miami game, but he was untouchable. A 0.91 batting average against. But like you mentioned, he's only really going to go 2 or 3 innings. We saw this exact same situation with him last year. Coming off Tommy John, that final month of the regular season, this guy was only getting 35 pitches. So I think that Florida's going to have to go to that bullpen early and often against Texas, and I don't think that's a winning recipe. So I'll take the Horns. Welcome.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I like Texas here. Interesting now because Luke Harrison's going on Saturday, and losing Jared Spencer completely fucked them up because not only do you lose what was probably one of the 4 or 5 best SEC pitchers in the country, which was almost a win every single time he took the mound. But now that has a chain reaction effect. So it forces everybody to have to move up a spot. It forces the bullpen to have to move up a spot. Somebody else has to step up and pick up the slack for that. So now it's through the rotation now.
Yeah,
but
Jason Flores hasn't really looked great in that game 3
so,
start.
You're thinking about this. You're basically trading Jared Spencer for Jason Flores.
Yeah,
So,
and then look at Flores' rotation. You got Liam Peterson on Saturday, Aiden King on Sunday. They feel good about those two arms. Game 3, I would favor Florida here in this series.
Yeah.
So it's a strategic move having Coppola go against Texas's best arm because of what you're mentioning about the whole Texas pitching situation.
So what site do you guys use to delve into stats, seeing splits? D1 Baseball. We there's a couple other sites, but D1 Baseball mainly to see the splits.
D1B, I've used them for 4 years now. I go to team pages, like specifically player pages, to figure out like recent stats. So like how they're doing in their last 3, 4, 5 starts or whatever. And then if I'm looking for an offensive split, I know a guy that has synergy access. So I'm able to put a request in and get that taken care of. So yeah, hit me up if you are in need of that.
So you brought up a good point. So we like Texas game 1, and now how does that impact the rest of the series? Because now, I mean, you can make a case Florida's got the advantage in not just game 2 with Peterson over Harrison, but Harrison's been really good this year. 3.25 ERA, 57 Ks, 22 walks, and 55 and a third. The walks are probably a touch high. Peterson's been a lot better as of late. It was a mixed bag this year for him. But then, you have Aiden King coming in, who's been a great freshman, over Flores, who, that's the real advantage. So I think, obviously, I would take Texas game 1, Florida game 3, which I think is fair. And I think
under
honestly,
game 2,
Florida might end up being maybe an even money or plus 110 dog on Sunday. Because in all fairness, I think the way this line opened up with Texas 154, I think this is getting to 180 at least before game time. So that's going to impact how the lines open the following day, as well as obviously what the final score is. Because I think the books at this point know, like, all right, we're staying on top of it. We know Peterson's not going in this game. That's why the line is reflected as such. Where do you make the game 2 line? Because that's going to probably end up being the series decider.
minus 140 Texas.
Would you take Florida or would you take Texas?
I would take Texas because Florida's going to exhaust quite a bit of bullpen in game 1.
I like that. So game 1 and 2, Texas. Game 3, Florida.
Yeah.
To avoid the sweep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to predict Texas to lose 2 straight series after they just lost their first series of the weekend last weekend.
Yeah, that's what I think. And I think a win here locks up the 1 seed, regardless of what happens last weekend. All right, Oregon State, Iowa. Ooh. This is an interesting interconference game that we don't really see at this point in the year, but Oregon State doesn't have a conference. Iowa throwing Cade Obermueller, who has been quite something this year. Iowa, I'm not really a believer in, but Obermueller has been so good this year that this becomes an interesting proposition. Oregon State, after that Round Rock tournament where they took Virginia game 1 and then they lost games 2 and 3, losing to Oklahoma, losing to Minnesota, kind of came to me where, okay, this team is truly reliant on 4 guys in the lineup and a couple guys in the pitching staff. Nelson Keljo on Fridays, he's been fine, but he's not a true difference maker. The bullpen has also been shaky for Oregon State. They got swept by Oregon in not just the weekend series, but they lost the midweek. They don't really have many legitimate wins under their belt. They beat UC Irvine, which is, that's a legit win. But now, they're traveling to Iowa. They got to go on the road, where Iowa's been good this year, going against probably one of the better pitchers they will have seen this season. Keljo versus Obermueller, Noah. Obviously, Iowa's got the pitching advantage here. But will it make a difference?
Eric Segura.
Oh, it's Segura, not Keljo?
Yeah, his second straight weekend start on Friday, which was a move that I've been clamoring for the entire year. I celebrated it on the show last week when I saw Segura going up against Hawaii. He's 7-1 on the year, 4.29 ERA in 42 innings with a 59 strikeouts, 24 walks. On the road, he's been over a half run better with a 3.46 ERA in his last 4 appearances, 2.56 ERA. I think Oregon State had a little bit of a wake-up call after getting swept by Oregon. They take care of Hawaii, and now they – so I have a question for you. On the
Why does it not
DraftKings-
get televised? Why do the fucking Oregon State games never get televised? I don't
It's
know.
on Big Ten Plus, so it is going to be –
It said this game will not be televised, but maybe –
I saw Big Ten Plus on the stadium scoreboard. So if that was there and they're not televising,
sorry, the game will be streamed on Big Ten Plus, produced by Iowa. So maybe televised, meaning on Oregon State's network. So I do apologize. But
Gotcha.
Still, who's subscribing to Big Ten Plus? I'm not.
I have it.
Of course you do.
Yeah, I'm also regional too. I'm in the area, so. But yeah, you mentioned Obermueller. This kid's also a dog. He's been human his last 3 starts, though. 3.77 ERA last 3. It's Michigan, it's Washington, and there is a team also in there that have been feisty teams. I wouldn't say they're great teams, but they're all quality. And Michigan and Washington were bubble in the recent bracketology projections that I was looking at. But yeah, on the season, he's been stellar. 94 strikeouts, 68 innings, 2.51 ERA. I see this being a low score matchup with both teams having their bullpens at full strength. Keljo out of the bullpen is a weapon. I think he's a great give it all you got 1 inning, 2 inning guy. I just didn't like him as a full on starter going 5 innings because then that's when the walks come into play. So yeah, I would go Oregon State here. My question to you, Johnny, is Oregon State's slated as the home team on DraftKings. I don't know if that's any extra inherited value on Iowa because this is going to be a Hawkeye crowd in Des Moines. At a pick'em, I feel good about Oregon State, but yeah, I'm not going to touch this one. I'd look at an under if it's too high, but other than that, I'd stay away.
I don't trust Eric Segura. I think he's too volatile. I think when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's real bad. And here's the one caveat. Because on paper, like Oregon, I don't think Iowa's a good team. I mean, I don't. I'm surprised how good they've been this year, but I still think it's fugazi. But Oregon State, like I said, they're just so volatile. They're so inconsistent. But my thing is this. If Iowa's going to get one, I think it's going to be with their best pitcher on the mound. And Dax Whitney, Ethan Kleinschmidt, Saturday, Sunday, that's the advantage there.
The way he's looked lately, I wouldn't call Whitney their best arm, but I could totally see them winning Game 3. I like Aaron Savory over Whitney in Game 2.
I think I might sit this one out because I don't feel too strongly on either side, and I don't want to just pick a game just to pick a game. This may be a series I'll get back in later in the weekend after I see what's been going on to start. So that's where I'm at, but I thought it was at least worth talking about.
Yeah, quality game. I can't wait to watch a little bit of this series.
I can't wait to get the highlights from 11.7 and the rest of college baseball because I'm not paying for Big Ten, especially with 2 weekends left. How dare Big Ten make you pay to watch their baseball? Like they have a legitimate 3 good teams in the conference out of fucking 18 teams. And
it's for hockey and basketball.
Yeah, but how dare they make you pay? How dare they? After we're already paying for ESPN Plus and fucking Flow Sports and all that shit.
I'm actually surprised that this one's not on the main Big Ten Network channel. I wonder what that matchup is. Could be Oregon, Washington.
Maybe. All right, Oklahoma State at Baylor. The Cowboys are doing everything they can to get their bid right for the field of 64. Oklahoma State has been playing very good baseball. Harrison Bodendorf, the transfer from Hawaii, had a rocky start to his career in conference play, but he has been magnificent this last month plus. I mean, Baylor was an interesting team earlier on, Noah. Ethan Calder was doing really well. Bryson Bales was doing really well. But this pitching is kind of fallen apart in recent weeks. And Ethan Calder is not even the Friday night guy, or he was bumped out of that spot several weeks ago. This is even money, even on the road. I think this is Bodendorf. I think it's a significant pitching advantage for OK State when you have a guy like Bodendorf who's been as hot as he has. And like I said, man, Oklahoma State in recent weeks has shown us what we've been waiting for. This was the preseason Big 12 favorite, which both of us said we weren't betting. We were
Great
not
call, by the way, by both of us.
Yes, we said we were not betting Oklahoma State. But listen, in all fairness, just because I didn't think they were going to win the conference didn't mean I think they were going to be shit this year. Like, I think we both pointed out that they had holes in their roster. It wasn't as soundproof as, like, a lot of the preseason rankings had them being. I think the offense has a lot of problems, and I think losing Carson Benz and Zach Earhart and Lane Forsythe was always going to be an issue despite having Nolan Schubert. I think, though, now with the way their offense has been progressing, I don't know if Oklahoma State's going to get in. If they win back-to-back series, maybe win a few games in the Big 12 tournament, maybe they'll have a bid. I would probably say they're 75-25, 75 being they're not getting in unless they go on an absolute heater. But while they continue to chase that bid, back in Bodorf game one, even price here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I totally disagree with where this price is. It's one of my favorite plays for tomorrow's slate. Baylor hasn't even listed a starter for this game. It's a TBA. No confidence in a game one starter. And Harrison Bodendorf has a 0.80 ERA in his last 6 appearances. He's absolutely rolling. Oklahoma State's playing for something because this is a top-tier program that is in danger of missing out on the postseason. And with only 2 Big 12 titles, college baseball is crazy. We just saw Chris Lemonis fired mid-season after 3.5 years removed of a national championship. Who knows? Maybe Holiday's on the hot seat. But I think this is a very motivated Poke squad. At even money with their ace on the bump, you have to take
it. Yeah.
Oh, you're right over there.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have any water. I ran out of water a while ago, so I'm fucking dry throating it over here. All right, last featured game of the night. Save the best for last. Arkansas at LSU. This is a top 5 caliber matchup. 2 teams that might end up seeing each other in Omaha. Got a good pitching duel here. Cade Anderson, been one of the 3 or 4 best arms in the country this year against Zach Root. Transfer from ECU's had a nice year. Arkansas snapped a 3-week losing streak with a statement series sweep against the number 1 Longhorns last weekend, while LSU, who's been a little bit on and off the last 5 weeks or so, kind of gave the series away to A&M. They were in control for most of the series until Caden Sorrell, a.k.a. instant fucking offense, happened and stole it for the Aggies, which I was happy about because the Aggies definitely needed that series. Minus 125 for Cade Anderson. I'll let you kick this one off.
This is a big-time motivation handicap. And you look at Arkansas, who just swept the number 1 team in the country, handed them their first series loss of the year. And you look at LSU that just snatched defeat in the jaws of victory against Texas A&M, where they were the better team in the 3-game series in my eyes. My favorite bet tomorrow. I'm going LSU at the box. They've been money at home. I think they're 26-4 this season at Alex Box Stadium. Cade Anderson, a 127 Sierra, 357 ERA on the year. He's 6-1 with a 70.2 innings total, 114 strikeouts. He's just 1 strikeout behind Liam Doyle now after Doyle kind of got snubbed of a start last weekend for the nation's lead in strikeouts. 19 walks. That's an elite ratio. And then Zach Root, who just had an out-of-body performance, one of his best starts of the season. He goes 8 deep. We've seen it quite a bit this year where outside of Liam Doyle, even Cade Anderson to a point, he goes complete game. The very next start, he gets touched up a little bit. I see that happening with Root here. And he's got a 6'10 road ERA compared to a 3.95 on the season. I think this is screaming LSU. I think this one should close around minus 150. I see this series a lot like how the books saw Arkansas, Texas. Arkansas was not even close to being a dog in any of the 3 games. That's how I'd have LSU here. Look, I respect Arkansas. I think they are the best team in the country when their offense is going good because they have just 8 arms that they can just pull out of their pen and they're chucking Ched. But I like the Tigers this weekend. They just seem like the hungrier dog. Hungry dogs run faster.
Yeah, I agree. This is going to be one of my favorite plays of the day. LSU. So let's talk about this. Zach Root, in my opinion, has been good, but he's been in that Hunter Elliott basket almost, where like he's been good, but he's not an automatic bet every Friday. He is a guy that is susceptible in certain situations, on the road especially. He's a guy that is not typically going deep in games. I think he's only made it to the 6th inning 4 times out of 12 starts this year. He's a guy that can get hit around. And, in the sense of the word, most of the time, from what I've seen at least, in most cases, guys that throw a lot of pitches or go deep into a game the week before end up regressing in a big way the following weekend. And now you're going at the box, one of the most hostile environments in the country, against one of the best teams in the country. I think it's a letdown spot. I think LSU is chomping at the bit to rectify the blown series lead after a late home run Sunday afternoon. Cade Anderson, aside from that, has just been magnificent, truly magnificent. He's had a couple bad outings, 3 5-run outings this year. His big thing is the home run. He gives up a ton of home runs. He's given up 12 on the year. I think a lot of it has to do with just poor pitch selection in bad count. And he's hung a couple of bad pitches, like just straight up grooved. Can't do that against Arkansas, who's got the 5th most home runs this year. They have a lot of home run hitters, so you can't make a mistake to them. And I think the bigger thing with Arkansas, and this is my opinion from what I've seen of Anderson in Arkansas this year, Anderson's a high 90s fastball from the left side. He's got a mid 80s sharp breaking slider. That's his big combo, as a lot of pitchers, especially lefties, have. Anderson's got to be 97 plus in the top of the strike zone and tunnel that breaking ball, that slider, especially in put away situations. Because here's the problem. Here's the thing with Arkansas's bats. Most of them have just huge uppercuts, like they're swinging an oar, and they love the lower third of the zone. So when you're going to tunnel that, you can't miss. That's got to be about 3 inches off the bottom of the zone when you're going for the put away pitches. So he's got to be sharp in that regard. But I think LSU's offense is going to start figuring it out. I know we've mentioned this a couple times. They're a team that's typically bludgeoned the ball, especially under Jay Johnson. They have 75 home runs as a team this year, which honestly is not bad. But for LSU, it's hibernating. Only Jared Jones is in double figures with home runs. They're more hit over power this year. They have a team average of, I think, 306. 6 of their regular starters have a 300 or better average. I think it's going to come around for them. And I think they're going to do enough here. They're averaging 8 runs at home this year. They've won every single series at home this season. LSU minus 125. Let's do it.
Let's ride.
And honestly, I think I like LSU game 1 too. I like Anthony Heinsohn, the way he's been throwing against Gage Wood on Saturday. I think Sunday's where Arkansas might get one, because the Sunday situation with LSU, since Chase Shores got demoted, it's the Sunday situation all year has been strange.
Yeah, they listed a TBA.
Maybe Evans gets Case and Evans, the freshman, gets a second chance here after a rough outing.
I think he does.
Yeah, I would say so too.
I'm gonna be bold here. I think LSU sweeps. If there's one game that I circle as like possibly Arkansas gets it done, that Gage Wood, Gabe Gackle combo has been really good recently. The last 3 times they've ran it out there, and as I just mentioned with Zach Root, how he had an out of body performance last weekend, his best start of the year. You also know who else had that, and I also had his head coach compare him to Michael B. Jordan in the movie Creed against Drago's son, Anthony Ianson. So if there was going to be a letdown spot for anybody in this weekend series, it would be Zach Root, Ianson. Arkansas possibly touches him up in game 2. That would be how I see LSU dropping a game. But I feel pretty good about the Tigers just taking this one.
This is where the market's got to continue to develop, because if we had series prices, it would change the game. If you could bet series prices, if you could bet,
over under 2.5 wins for this team in the series.
Yeah, or sweep. Exactly. That's what we would like, and hopefully we continue to get these markets. Do you have a comment from C. Smith? Always getting at me. Appreciate you, C. Smith. Most confident money line piece tomorrow. By the way, you guys are the best show. The best. Love the show. Appreciate the support. Best money line piece tomorrow. No, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I wrote down all the pitchers for every game. Didn't get to completely finish my handicap because we did have 30-plus games on overnight lines here. So huge progress that we're making in college baseball. I don't love like a minus 200 so much to like throw it in a money line parlay. So you know what I'm going to do is I think I'll hand out my favorite money line parlay piece as Mississippi State. I don't know. I just don't think it's a money line. I love the card, but I don't think it's a money line parlay day tomorrow.
I threw a couple in, one of which was like a little bit of a longer shot. If you're looking for a longer shot that I think is most likely to win, and it's a little safe. It's obviously the payout's not going to be big. I think UCLA at Illinois in a week where they need to bounce back after losing at USC, and it's been a rough few weeks for UCLA. They lost to Oregon, they lost to USC, 2 monster Big Ten series. I think they get right. Wyland Moss should be back on the mound.
It's Ian May.
Oh, it is EMA?
Yeah.
They've been so it's weird. UCLA's been doing this weird thing. They've moved the rotation around.
I think Moss is hurt.
Oh, is he? It'd be nice if I could watch the game, but I don't subscribe to the Big Ten Network.
He left a start after only throwing like 2 innings, or at least that's what it looks like in the box score, and he hasn't pitched over the last 2 weeks. So
it's still EMA, I think, at Illinois. I like that there. I would say probably in addition to UCLA, you took Mississippi State. I wouldn't say Tennessee's my most confident. I feel confident about it.
I'm most confident in LSU. That's my favorite play tomorrow.
Yeah, parlay piece. UCLA, Smith, UCLA. But in terms of the shorter one, I would say Texas and LSU. So I think something like maybe a UCLA, Texas, LSU, Mississippi State 4-leg parlay is really good. If you want to get greedy, maybe throw in FSU at minus 500. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. But I did throw FSU in a parlay just to get it up a little bit with Jamie Arnold. I know. Total scumbag move, throwing a minus 500 favorite in there, but You know
what? I was wrong. So they piggybacked Wyland Moss with Ian May last week. Moss went 2.1. It was his first appearance in a week and a half. 1 earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 2 hits against. He only faced 8 batters through 30 pitches. So
I wonder what's going on there, but it's a mystery. But so that's how I would go about this. Noah, before we bounce, is there any other matchups that maybe we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
Yeah. Do you want to mention the NC State North Carolina game too?
Yeah, we don't have a line, but I mean,
No,
UNC handled business.
They did.
Right.
And I think they take care of business in game 2. Look, Dom Fritton's on the mound for NC State. He is their typical Friday / game 1 starter. They didn't move him to Thursday here. In his last 6 starts, he's kind of leaking oil. It's a 6.83 ERA. He does have a 2.35 SIERA, though, so he could be due for some positive regression. But Aiden Houck's been tremendous this season. Honestly, North Carolina's pitching staff is one of the best in the country. He's got a 2.10 home ERA, 3.27 on the year. North Carolina's offense is rolling right now. Like, they've really found their groove, and they're kind of bringing up those season-long stats. But if you, I don't have it off the top of my head, but if you take their last 5 weekend series, that offense has been really good. So I like the Tar Heels. Do you have any thoughts on the game too there?
Yeah, I think UNC could sweep this weekend. I haven't believed in NC State all season long. So like one out of nowhere basically looked up on the ACC standings and NC State snuck up on everybody. I didn't buy them coming into this year. I thought they were going to have a regression after losing so many key pieces, especially experience-wise last season. One thing that remained, though, was their pitching, but their offense, they don't really have too many studs. They have a couple like solid guys. Sosa's good, but it's strange. And now, we're finally getting into some better series that they're playing in terms of quality of competition. I like UNC here, man. I mean, Aiden Houck, he had a horrible start at Virginia Tech, and that's kind of ballooned his ERA. But other than that, aside from that, his worst start this year was last weekend at Pitt, where it was 5 innings, 8 hits, 3 earned. I mean, like you said, this kid's been money at home. UNC's really coming on strong in the second half. The team that I picked to win the preseason ACC, along with Virginia, of course, they're looking really good. I think NC State gets game 2, and I think they might be going for the sweep here, buddy. I really do. UNC right now is firmly in that top 8 national seed mix, and I think they need to keep this rolling in order to make that happen. And
I like it. I think both you and I have a preseason ticket on them winning the ACC, correct?
You do. And I'll tell you what, man. Since getting moved from the Friday night role, Jason DeCaro, back on track, man. I mean, in his last 4 starts, he's only given up 4 earned runs in like 24 innings. He's looked really, really good. It was rough for him to start the year, but, I mean, the Sunday roll for him has been great. And he's a Friday night caliber pitcher. And this is your Sunday guy with a grad student in Jake Knapp, who missed all of last year, going Friday.
And he's the ACC pitcher of the year right now.
Who? Knapp?
Jake Knapp.
Over Arnold?
Yeah.
Yeah, Knapp's been great, but I need to do a little bit more digging. But
without a doubt, actually.
Is it? Let's take a look. I know Arnold's been a lot better this year, but I know Knapp's been really good.
He's been easily the best pitcher, I think, in the ACC, in my opinion. But yeah,
203. Let's see. I think if it's close, we'll give it to Jamie Arnold, just because he's Jamie Arnold and top pitcher in the country. 73. 13. Yeah, maybe Knapp has a slight edge. 203 ERA for Knapp, 229 for Arnold. Arnold's strikeouts, 73 Ks to 19 walks in 55 innings. Knapp has 67 Ks to 13 walks in 71 innings. I would say it's like 1A, 1B right now. Knapp, I'll give the lead to Knapp. But DeCaro's a guy that can very easily be one of the first 5 arms off the board next year, a legitimate top 20 pick. So the way he's rolling right now, it's big time for this Diamond Heels team.
Yep.
Any other games that you think are worth noting?
Well, we'll talk a little bit more on some of the mid majors because I like to dive deep into the weeds. I think this one's quality. By the way, finish my sentence on the college baseball experience. Johnny will join me over there, and I love making him talk about some of the mid major matchups. But dude, if you don't know the names, which I do believe you do, for South Florida, Corey Braun has been great this year. He's hit a little bit of a wall his last 3 starts, but on the year it's a 3.04 ERA, 82 strikeouts, 80 innings. He's been South Florida's ace this season. He's up against Trey Beard, who's Florida Atlantic's ace, one of the better mid-major pitchers in the country, 7-0, 267 ERA, 98 Ks, and 67.1. The line's a little inflated on FAU minus 210, USF plus 160, but I would look at an under there. I really love both of those arms. So
yeah, I think that's a good look there. It's really interesting when you have 2 good mid-major pitchers dueling it out. There was a game I wanted to talk about. Oh, any interest in Grand Canyon plus 135 at Stanford minus 175? Your Stanford Cardinal?
Yeah, no. They've burned me so many times this year.
Tell me about
it. So Grand Canyon doesn't even seem like they're the best team in the WAC to me. So put them on a weekend where they're not even like dominant in the WAC against Stanford, who I still think has plenty of talent. That's a tough projection for me. I still think Cardinal win it, but I'm not betting that team right now.
I mean, it's the same Stanford team that got swept at home against Notre fucking Dame.
Notre Dame's hot right now. Don't hate on the Dame.
They beat Boston College. They went to Boston College and beat them. That's like their, aside from the UNC win first weekend, that's like their big series win this weekend.
Yeah.
There was one more. It's kind of it's a series of underachievers in the Big 12. UCF, Texas Tech. Tech plus 120 at home. The pitching for UCF this year, which we both loved UCF coming into the year as a dark horse. We thought the pitching was really going to be the strength of this team. And I think we could both agree UCF isn't as bad as they are on paper, but it's definitely been a disappointment. We know Texas Tech can't pitch. Like, that's just not something that they do. They haven't been able to pitch in 2-3 years, but they're home plus 120. Any interest?
No, I'm not sure I want to touch either one of these teams with a 10-foot pole. They've been really inconsistent. Texas Tech, they did jump up and bite W in the Friday game last weekend. But yeah, UCF is a team that's also really kind of let me down this year. And yeah, they've jumbled up that weekend rotation so much to where I have no idea what we're getting on any given day with the Knights right now. It's not the team that I was forecasting for the season, that's for sure.
Last one. Louisville 160 at Georgia Tech minus 210. The Yellow Jackets have come back down to earth, crashing. It's a big number for a team that's been very inconsistent. Louisville, I don't think Louisville should be this big of an underdog. I'd probably make this line more like Georgia Tech minus 160, Louisville plus 124. You have any interest in the Cardinals here?
So they're that big of an underdog because they're 0-4 in series on the road in the ACC. They're 4-0 at home series in the ACC. And they haven't projected a single starting pitcher for this weekend. They've been ravaged by injuries, man. And Patrick Forbes didn't come back in the same shape from his injury. Peter Michael has taken a step back. He's come back down to earth. I mean, Louisville, whoever they toss out there, I don't have faith in them. I think the offense is good, but Georgia Tech has really improved that pitching staff. Danny Hall's offense has always hit really well. I see this more of as a Yellow Jackets went cold in the middle of the year, and I think the pitching staff's better. The offense is good. I think they're a dangerous ACC 2 seed in the NCAA tournament.
It's interesting. I don't think they're not dangerous, but I definitely think the regression is understandable for sure. That's why when they came out and were as hot as they were, so I was a little bit surprised.
Put Georgia Tech in that Auburn regional. I think they win it.
Fireworks on that one. I can't wait for the regional prices. I can't wait for like some of these 2 or 3 seeds to be such big underdogs, and it doesn't make any sense. And basically like Oregon. Last year I gave out Oregon around plus 300 in that Santa Barbara series because everybody loved Santa Barbara, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. They're not good. They can't hit.
I was on Barbara.
I was on Oregon. I'm like, yeah, Oregon, come on. And for all the knocks we give the Oregon Ducks, they're in the postseason a lot, and they have a lot of postseason pedigree, and they know how to play that time of year. But everybody, we really appreciate you tuning in to this Friday night edition done on Thursday, Week 13 preview. Noah, as always, has been fantastic. Don't forget, you're going to tune into us shortly. What time are we doing this podcast next?
Shortly. I got to eat dinner. So I'm hungry. I need like 20 minutes, so maybe 11.
We'll be talking about the same stuff that we talked about tonight. So if you want to hear it again or you want to hear some different spin, tune in to the College Experience. Noah will provide you with the link at NoahB77_. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Don't forget to sign up for the College Baseball Second Half VIP Discord membership. It's only $100 from today for the rest of the season. We're up over 36 units in 2025 and counting. We'll see you next week.